Hey guys, my name is Matumio, and today's challenge, a lot of you requested that I try out the SR338 sniper rifle alongside the 40 times scope and the suppressor. Oh boy, this was a doozy of a challenge. When I first learned about the SR338 when the Naval Strike expansion pack was launching, I was excited for it. I thought that this was going to be a return of the DMRs that we had back in Battlefield 3 because this was a recon exclusive gun, and I thought that DICE was gonna give it some nice power. I thought that it was gonna have almost the same type of killing potential that we had with like the SKS or the M417 in the previous game, guns that I adored and loved, and that was what the SR338 was gonna be all about. That is nowhere near the case of Battlefield 4. The biggest thing holding back this gun is that while it does a lot of damage, like its damage output is solid, it does 50 damage per shot up close and then drops off to 38 at long range. So as long as you're within 12 meters and you get a headshot, it acts basically the same way that it did back in Battlefield 3. Like it has some nice killing potential there. But the downside of it, though, is that it has just a stupid amount of bullet spread. If you guys have ever used this weapon, you know that as soon as you try to take the full advantage of the 150 RPM that this gun possesses, which isn't really all that high, like you compare that to the SKS or other DMRs in the game, that's on the low end. If you try to take advantage of that RPM, your bullets fly in every single direction. It's like, what other gun in Battlefield 4 has that amount of bullet spread? Like, I think it may actually have the highest amount of bullet spread out of every weapon in the game. Don't quote me on that, but it's just ridiculously high. And so during this challenge, if I was able to play aggressively, it wouldn't have been all that much of a problem because bullet spread doesn't mean as much when they're directly in front of you. Like if a guy is 2 feet in front of you, bullet spread isn't really going to do a whole lot to your accuracy. Like you may have a little deviation to the left or the right, but your bullets are still going to land. You're still going to get those headshots. You're still going to be able to hit them in the upper chest, and you're going to be able to drop your target. But the further out they go, and because I'm using the 40 times scope and I need to shoot people at a distance, that bullet spread compounds on itself. It gets worse and worse the further out they are, and it just gets exponentially to the point where my bullet is nowhere near where my crosshair is aiming. And so most of the time, I would get 2 bullets into my enemy, they would realize someone was shooting at them, I would miss my 3rd shot because of the bullet spread, and then I would miss every other shot after that because they're moving around, they're making themselves a harder target. It was frustrating. Like, I'll be completely honest, just because of that bullet spread and because of the mechanics of the SR338, it was not the most pleasant of experiences. The one redeeming quality, though, is that it does have a fairly fast reload time. It's only going to take you 2.3 seconds to go through the short animation and then 2.6 to go through the long. And I know that reload speeds aren't the flashiest thing in the game. It's not necessarily going to get you kills. But if you are in a tight spot and you need to get a couple more rounds in your magazine, 2.3 seconds isn't all that bad. That being said, though, basically everything else is entirely trash. Its bullet velocity isn't too bad. It comes in at 500 meters per second, which is all right when you compare it to the other sniper rifles. But as soon as you put on that suppressor, it drops nearly in half and goes down to 300 meters per second. You guys have probably noticed throughout today's video, when I fire my weapon, it takes the bullet a significant amount of time before it reaches its destination. And I have to lead my target and aim way above their head if I'm ever going to get a headshot or even just hit them normally. This was probably the biggest thing that I had to overcome with this challenge. Not only because it was just stupid hard acquiring targets, like there were so many moments when I would see someone out in the distance, zoom in, and then be like, oh my god, what am I looking at? Is that a rock? Is this a tree that I'm looking at? I have no idea where my enemy is. Zoom back out. Oh, see that they're spotted once again. They're running through a field. Zoom back in. Once again, have absolutely no idea where they were. Zoom back out and then zoom back in and repeat that process until I could finally figure out where they were. Hope that they would stop, because then at that point I would either have to predict about 5 years into the future to line up the shot, aim way above their head because of that slow bullet velocity and the crazy amount of bullet drop, and then maybe eventually take them out. It did happen. Every so often the planets would align, all of a sudden Zeus would give me the power of the gods and I would line up those shots. but it was like once in the blue moon. It did not happen, and when it did, it was amazing, it was incredible, I felt like a sniper god, but I'll be honest, for the most part, people were just slapping me around, and it was more luck than skill for the most part. And so, with all these hindrances, the way that I approached this challenge was I went for almost every stationary person that I could find. Like, if there was a camping recon, I was giddy like a little schoolgirl, because as soon as they move, my kill potential just plummets. Like, it almost goes to 0. A camping sniper, on the other hand, is the best way to use the SR338, or really anyone who is stationary, but that's also true for every other gun in the game. Like, anyone who is not moving is easy kill for an assault rifle, a carbine, another bolt-action rifle, especially another bolt-action rifle. And so while I guess you could say that's a plus of the SR338, it's not really when you compare it to every other gun in the game. And so the maps that I found to be the best for this was Caspian Border. Lumphany Gardens was also solid. I had a lot of fun just staying on the train tracks and just kind of making that my domain and camping up there. But also, of course, Silk Road. Silk Road is one of those maps that I adore. Like, I know that some people hate it because it's full of people just driving around in the dirt bikes and using C4 to blow up tanks and things like that, but I just love the layout of that map. I love the flow of it, I love the sniping, I love just the tank combat. It's a fun map for me. But the thing about it is that there are a lot of camping snipers. Like, almost guaranteed there's at least going to be like 5 people that are just standing still on one of the rock structures. And if you're able to get into a nice spot and you can get a flank of, the SR338 does a pretty good job at disposing of each and every single one of them. So Silk Road was also an amazing map for this challenge. One thing that I had a lot of fun doing though, and it didn't even involve sniping, was editing today's video. I love editing content for you guys. I've got this weird obsession at trying to make it so that it's hard to discern between when one clip ends and the other one begins. Like, I love that stuff. That is my jam. And because this wasn't the most action-packed or fast-paced oriented challenge, some editing was involved to try to speed things up a bit, but also just make it a nice viewing experience. And so while the sniping was fun sometimes, especially when I was able to line up those or predict those shots with moving targets, those were always amazing. Ironically, the most fun that I had in creating today's video was the editing process. But yeah, guys, that's about it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed. If you have a terrible weapon loadout that you would like me to try next, be it a gadget, be it a loadout with a terrible combination of attachments, let me know down below. This was a recommendation from you guys. I think the gentleman that recommended it had like 100 thumbs up, so it was clear that a lot of you wanted me to try it out. I probably won't do a 40 times sniper challenge for a long time now. I've done it with bolt action rifles, and I've finally done it with the SR338, so I don't know if there's any real more incentive for me to use these once again. But if you have any other loadouts, feel free to let me know down below. But until tomorrow, have a good one and take it easy.